for the week of the Open. The long iron utilities that I normally use, which are actually a 3 and a 4 iron hybrid, they were obviously going to be pretty defunct last week. For the simple reason is 3 and 4 iron hybrids obviously send the ball up in the air, and that's something that you're obviously not going to want to do at the Open. So I took those 2 clubs out the bag. 2 and 3 iron went in the bag, and there was a club that I was testing in practice. I had a 2 iron hybrid de-lofted by about 3 degrees. We managed to get it down to under 15 degrees of loft. We managed to get some glue melt weight in the top of this as well to try and keep it down as well. Now this took place of the 2 iron, which I did use in practice, but this hybrid come into play, which you would have seen me hit on a number of holes last week. So this went back into the bag. This flew with no wind, 240 onto those firm fairways, which were running 11, 12 on the stint, you could call them. So on one of the holes last week, the par 5 17, I hit this downwind, it went 323 yards. So that was a pretty useful addition to the bag. The 5 wood, that wasn't used last week at all, but it actually made the trip. The other option we then was left with, obviously, driver's not going to come out the bag, and the 3 wood's not really going to come out the bag. So the only other club option I had was a gap wedge. Do I use the gap wedge? Don't I use the gap wedge? If I do use it, what club do I take out the bag? Am I going to sacrifice anything at the right end of the bag or the wrong end of the bag? So it was all about shot making, and a lot of those greens last week, it wasn't easy, but it was easier to land the ball short the green and get it to run up to the hole. So the gap wedge never made it. So it left me 14 clubs. Driver, 3 wood, 2 iron hybrid, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pitching wedge. My sand iron was a 56 degree sand iron, and I had a 62 degree lob wedge. So quite a lot of difference between 62, 56, that's obviously 6, so that's quite a big gap. And then there's a big gap from 56 to get down to 48. Now, I know some of you, a lot of you follow me on Twitter, and there was a big debate. Well, some armchair fans were having a big debate, and why are you using a 56, and isn't there a huge gap between that? I knew what was going to get me around the golf course in the least amount of shots, and with this setup right here, I felt very comfortable going out on the golf course. So for me, that was the one priority that I needed to get right before I even looked at trying to compete last week at all, making sure the bag is right. And the other weapon in the bag to make up the 14 was obviously the putter. A lot of you guys saw on Twitter, or some of you that were up here at the club noticed that I probably had 20 or 30 of them out on the putting green, trying to find the one putter that I felt was going to be the right one. It's a major. Why wouldn't you go with something that you already know is going to be the right one? Using it works back there. The putts weren't going in, my stroke felt fine, so I just needed a new look. So I came up on the putting green at Woburn one morning, I had 8 hours out there, trying to find the one I liked. That was the one that I chose out of them. And to be honest, I could have chose any of them, because I was holding putts with most of them, so that reaffirmed to me that the stroke was actually fine. I was mentally, for several weeks and months, I was probably overthinking the situation. I just needed to change the putter, and that's exactly what I did. I changed it last week. I went out on the golf course, I felt comfortable, and as you saw coming down the stretch, started to get momentum, started to hole a putt, that led to another one, and obviously a couple more fell from there. It went a little cold over the last few holes, but I'll let it off for that. But that's generally the whole process. You've got to be happy with what's in your bag, and you've got to know what all of these clubs in the bag mean. Now, I'm in a very fortunate situation. I've got great sponsors, Cobra being one of them. I'm able to have a lot of selections, and obviously that's difficult. You know, mums and dads, you're probably going to curse me here, but you know, to have a little choice, you know, certain ends of the golf bag is sometimes a very good thing. Whether it be, you know, instead of a 54-degree sand wedge, is the 56-degree sand wedge the right gap in the bag to get you the right type of shot you're looking for? So it's all about having the right selection. I'll go ahead and hit a few shots for you that I normally would do during a normal warm-up session. I always start with a lob wedge, very important to start off with the shortest club in your bag. Warm-ups, you know, ease into them, get used to the feel. Some mornings you're going to wake up, whether you've done your stretching or whether you haven't done your stretching, some mornings you don't feel quite right. So ease into the practice session, start with a lob wedge. Just start off whether it's a 50-yard shot or a 20-yard shot, but just ease into it. But that's my 62-degree lob wedge. It's got an S400 shaft, so that's a standard stiff shaft. I changed that out the early part of this year. I had an extra stiff shaft in it. It just didn't feel as if it gave me enough feel. So that carries 95 yards onto my 56-degree sand iron. Now, this flies on a normal swing 108 yards. You might think 8 is a bit strange to pull that number, but I hit shots all the time back home practicing on TrackMan. You've seen it on TV, you watch the coverage, Sky Sports or any of that, you see the ball, the tracers. It gives me instant feedback, and I can track during a practice session how many shots I've hit with a sand iron. It will give me my average. So I know for a fact that if I just put a normal swing on a sand iron, it's going to go 108 yards. Now, last week the difficult thing with the conditions, in fact, while I'm hitting shots, here's my yardage book from last week. You can pass it around yourselves. You can have a little look through it if you want. You can see some of the notes that I put down. Pass it around everyone if you want to have a little look through. 15th hole last week on Saturday. No, not Saturday. I hit driver. Friday, sorry. So Friday afternoon, I'm playing 15th hole. I think I had 182 yards. I think it was saying my book. So 182 yards to the pin. I'm just in the left-hand rough. I've got a bunker. Does it say 182 in there? 15th hole, bottom.
Yeah.
182.
Yeah.
Okay, 182 it was. Now there's a bunker. Is that 35 short the green?
32.
32 short the green. There's a bunker. So there's no way I can carry that bunker that's in the middle of the fairway, the one that I drove it in on Sunday. So I'm in a bit of a sticky situation here. I want to hit sand iron, and it's 182 yards away is the pin, and I've got a club that flies 108. So albeit it's in the rough, it's downwind, the ball's going to fly just a little bit, but I need this club to go no further than 182 or I'm in big trouble. But I also need not to hit it in the bunker. That's about 150 yards away from me. So I need to land it short of the bunker, just to the left of the bunker, to take 2 bounces to get past that bunker, run on the downslope, to run on the green, and hopefully not go in either of those 2 back bunkers. So I hit sand iron, it landed short, 2 bounces, went past that bunker, got on the left half of the green, which was a little annoying, and it kind of left myself a 40 to 45 foot putt, and it just went past pin high. So the 108 yard club last week on the 15th went 190 yards. So that is what we were faced with last week. So people that were, you heard some of the grumbles and the moans of players complaining that the greens were getting too firm and all that kind of stuff. That's why you hear players in this situation. 182 yards, you're trying to hit sand iron. You're trying to land it short of bunkers that are fairway bunkers, not even greenside bunkers. and you try not to get it to roll in that back trap. So that's when the course was getting at its firmest. Friday, it was borderline. Is it playable? Isn't it playable? What is it? What you know? Is it realistic to be hitting these clubs in these conditions? So that's what we were faced with, and it was very hard to work out how far the ball was going to bounce and roll. Semi-shank, which is always nice. So on to 9-iron. Don't worry about them, Keith. If you ever have any of them, don't worry about them. They're actually almost to a very good shot. Just ignore them. Right, 9-iron. My 9-iron, I've actually changed to a PXI 7.0. That's a very, very stiff shaft. 9-iron flies 152 yards. Now last week again, the first hole on, might have even been Friday again, first hole on Friday, I've hit 9-iron on the first. It went 215 yards. So we were getting some very, very, very crazy numbers out of some of the holes last week because of how firm the course was playing. 7-iron travels 178 yards. Now while I'm hitting shots, if anyone's got questions, please fire them out to me, because I'd love to answer all your questions if I can. That's 7-iron.
How much do you rely on your caddy?
It's not really relying on my caddy, it's just making sure I've got trust in my caddy that we're both on the right wavelength. I think that's probably the most important thing. He needs to be thinking the same thing I'm thinking. He's, as well as I've got a yardage book, he's got a yardage book, and that's just as it's just a guarantee there. If I make a mistake, hopefully Terry's not going to make a mistake with the yardage. None of us are perfect, we all make mistakes. I've done plenty, he's made a few, so you know, it evens itself out. You've just got to be on the same wavelength. You need to be choosing the right club at the right time, and 95% of the time we're thinking the same club, so that means I've got a good caddy. Right, 5-iron carries 202.
What's the best bit of advice that you'd give to a junior?
Best bit of advice? Work really, 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 really hard at whatever it is you want to do. And if that's golf, then commit to it. And realise that if you're not going to work as hard as you think you should be, someone else is going to be working a lot harder than you. So if you want to become a golfer, every one of you here today can be, because I was playing off of a 4 handicap when I was 17, and a lot of you guys, or most of you guys, are younger than that, and some of you have got much better handicaps than that. So if you want it, go and get it. It's as simple as I'll make it to you. If you think that you're good enough and you believe you're good enough, now there's a slight difference between those two. You know, it's great to be able to think you're good enough, but inside you need to believe that you can work hard enough and achieve whatever it is you want to get out of the game. So what you put in, you'll get out. And if you want to work at it, then anything is possible.
On an average day, how many hours do you practice?
Today about 7 minutes at the minute. It depends. It depends whether it's a week off. It depends whether I'm getting myself tuned up and ready to play a tournament. Last week, you know, one of the days I was on that putting green out the front there for 8 hours because I wasn't happy. I don't generally need to do that long a session, but I just wanted to iron out, you know, tiny little faults, or just reassure myself that my stroke's fine and I'm able to just concentrate on the putting itself and not worry about the putter. So probably a couple of hours a day, which doesn't seem a lot, but most of the times in weeks off it's an hour and a half in the gym, hour in the gym, stretching, practice, warm up, cool down. So it's always a longer process than a couple of hours.
What was your best shot of the week last week?
Best shot of the week. That was 3-iron, by the way. 3-iron carries 224 yards. I had to think about that. I only use it once a year, that 3-iron. I use a utility every other week. Best shot of the week. I think the 3-iron on my 3-iron into 9 on Sunday. Has anyone got my yardage book? Who's got my yardage book? Okay, so 9th hole, Sunday, 3-iron, bottom right box, 283 or 283 front. There's a little box in the bottom right corner. Sorry? I wrote a little number down. 283 pin or to the front. There's two numbers there. Is that the last number on the bottom right? I'm asking him to read my yardage, but he's never even seen it before. Sorry, 294. So 294 3-iron Sunday. I was trying to land it 220 on a low flight to run the rest. So I'm trying to predict 70 yards of roll. And I hit it. Carries 240 with no wind. Very useful in a left to right and a right to left wind as well on occasions. Trying to move the ball slightly left to right and put it in the fairway. Hold it up against a strong right to left wind. Trying to hold it into a left to right wind. Now this club was really useful last week. It was even more useful because I left it at home and had to call Casey when I was on the aeroplane in a panic and saying, I've left 2 clubs in the club, can you please bring it up? So, thank you, darling. There she is. 3-wood last week, 15.5 degree loft on my 3-wood, flies 255 yards. Ian, how important is diet for you prior to a tournament or a run of ball and during? I think diet, nutrition, hydration is really important. I think it's a number of things that most guys work very hard on. Most guys have physios, most guys have trainers. It's all about finding the right balance to get yourself prepared, to get yourself ready to go out on the golf course with the right amount of energy in your body, making sure you've eaten enough food to get out there to sustain you through the early part of the round, taking nuts, bananas, bars on the golf course so you can snack all the way around to keep your energy levels very, very level. You don't want any spikes, you don't want to be having chocolate bars on the way out there because your energy level is going to spike and then it's going to come back down, and then that's not good really in terms of for concentration and stuff. So taking tablets on the course. I use a simple tablet. It's It's called a zero tablet. It's for days like today. It's absolutely crucial. Your body's sweating. You're losing minerals. You need to replace all of that stuff. And simple tablets in a bottle of water is vital at the end of the day. You won't believe how much better you feel at the end of the day with taking some tablets. Vitamins in the morning. You know, if you've got a trainer or you've got someone that you trust, doctor, ask him what are the right tablets and minerals and vitamins to take beforehand. I take all various types of tablets before, every morning before I leave the house. So that's crucial. Hydration. You know, a hot day like today. I've had you sitting here now for an hour, so you'll probably be really thirsty. But hydration is key. The second you lose some hydration, you lose a massive higher percentage of concentration straight after that. So you have to always hydrate. And if it was a tournament day today for myself, I'd be looking to put 4 litres of water mixed in with probably 3 or 4 of those tablets during one round of golf. So, that's a lot of water to take, and I understand that, you're carrying your golf bag and you don't want to be like a camel with 4 litres of water, but you need to try and take on as much fluid as you possibly can. Driver.
How often do you work with your coach?
I work with him every day, and that's me.
Good answer.
So I'm my coach. A lot of you guys will have coaches, and I would advise all of you to get one. The reason I'm my own coach is because I don't like to be told what to do. Quite stubborn, as my mum and my brother will tell you. No, I went through the PGA training program, so I understand a lot of the golf swing. I understand more about myself than anyone else does, and that's also key. I understand how I feel under pressure, so I understand how I work under pressure, as opposed to allowing someone else to tell me that. Now, everybody needs a coach. Most people need a coach just to get them on the right line. It's very important to have great basics, and then from the basics from there, you can become your own personality as such, and grow into a golf swing. Your golf swing will change throughout the years, but it will have a very similar DNA, and it's always good to be able to work with someone that understands that DNA. Okay, a driver that I hit last week a lot, Terry was asking me to hit a low driver, so I wouldn't really pick it up much lower than I normally do, but I would move the ball very slightly back, and I'm actually going to hold the loft off on the way through impact and try and keep the face from actually opening out and adding loft on the way through impact, so it's actually going to release the ball on actually a low flight without affecting the spin rate. That again last week, really useful into the wind. It carried not as far as a full driver would, but it had that extra roll. The fairways were so firm and fast that that ball would topspin and it would roll out a very, very long way.
What's the best part about being a tour player?
What's the best bit about being a tour player?
Yeah.
Probably being able to provide for my kids the way I can and could never have ever dreamed of doing. I think family is very important, and that's one thing I'm very proud of. The other thing, obviously, being able to compete at the highest level against the best players in the world, is very satisfying to know that all the years of hard work and practice to put yourself under the pressure in the biggest spotlight, i.e. Ryder Cup, knowing you can go out there and you can suck it to the Americans is brilliant. Fantastic. I actually spend quite a bit on long game. I feel really comfortable with a lob wedge. I always have done. I've always been very good hitting chip shots, spinning shots, draw chip shots, cut spin shots. So I feel comfortable, and occasionally I neglect that slightly, and it's something you can't do. So even though I don't practice it as much, I still spend a lot of time on short game. So try and get a good balance between those two.
Ian,
Any questions from the young? I've had no questions from the young ones so far. It's mums and dads. Young ones, juniors. Yes, young man.
What's your favourite club?
Favourite club? Every one of them in my bag. I've made them my favourite club, and if there's any one of them I don't like, I promise you I throw it away. I promise you. You have to love every club in your bag. Don't have one club you like, have all of them. And obviously I'm fortunate that these guys can make sure that every club in my bag is good.
Who's one of your favourite playing partners?
One of my favourite playing partners, Justin Rose, Lee Westwood, Darren Clark, Rory Mcilroy, G-Mac, all the European boys. Nothing against the Americans, honestly, but you know, all the guys I see week in, week out, and I like to go out and have dinner with and relax with and socialise with, so the European boys.
What do you think about McIlroy and his move from Knight?
You know what? Rory's one of the best players in the world, and he's going to continue to be one of the best players in the world. If someone's going to pay 4 or 5 times more than what you're on, then you're going to move jobs. Dead simple. Every person standing here today, if they're offered 4 or 5 times the money, I promise you, they're going to get a new job. So, say no more to that. I mean, it's he's one of the best players in the world. He will be back at his top form within no time at all. He's a great player.
Do you think it's the change of club that's caused his...
There's a number of things. Yes, new clubs might be a little factor in there, but everybody getting all over him doesn't help. He's a young lad, he's 22, he's won 2 majors, he's fantastic for the game of golf, and the more rubbish that we give him, then it's going to send him a bit further down before he comes back up. So everyone needs to get off his back, let him do his thing. Yes, he's changed equipment, but do you blame him?
No.
If someone offers you 4 or 5 times more money, it's very hard to say no. Especially when it's a great big massive briefcase.
Ian, what's your best moment in golf? Is it the Ryder Cup?
There's a number of best moments. I mean, all my wins are special for all different reasons. My first win was very special. Italian Open, the Volvo Masters, which had a 3-year exemption. Whether it be the WGC victories, 2 of those, or whether it be, you know, the Ryder Cup. I mean, they were all so good for so many reasons. You know, one of the best weeks I've ever had on the golf course is obviously Ryder Cup. I mean, you know what it means to me, and you've seen it. You've seen it on the box. It's an amazing week. There's no other place you can put yourself to be under that much intense pressure and excitement and adrenaline, where it just keeps you going for the entire week. I mean, you're not tired. You can't sleep. It's not the fact of being nervous. It's just you can't sleep. You know, your body's so pumped full of adrenaline, you know, your body's just fueled up for the entire week, and then you have a massive come down afterwards.
When you hit a chip shot around the green, do you think about technique or just holing it?
I think about, well, there's a number of things I think about when hitting a chip shot. You know, do I actually want to hit, you know, a little draw spinny one? Do I actually want to hit a cut spinny one? What's the surface like underneath under the ball? Is it firm? Is it soft? Is the bounce of the club going to come into play? Is it not? Do I want it to stop? Do I want it to release? You know, there's so many of these things that you will pick up, but that comes with practice and learning what each of these shots mean, whether it's firm or soft or spinning. But you know, the more hours you put on the practice ground to build up that archive of shots, the easier it is for you to make a decision under pressure. What shot do I need? I know it's firm, I know I need to stop it, okay, you know, I'll go ahead and hit the shot. So it's about doing the practice, so you're prepared, so when you get out on the golf course, you know what you're doing, you can execute the shot.
How do you deal with your pressure?
I love it. The more, the merrier. Bring it on. I love being under pressure. I love what it means. It makes you excited. It gets you switched on. It makes your brain focused. The more pressure you're under, the better shots you see from so many great players, because they're able to concentrate so much harder.
What do you work on in the gym?
There's various different things. A little bit of cardio, stretching mainly, making sure I'm very, very flexible before I go out on the golf course. Off seasons where I start to do some weight stuff. I mean, you can tell I'm no Adam Scott or no Rory Mcilroy in terms of, bulk, what those guys have put on. But it's about making sure I'm staying healthy, making sure I don't have any injuries, making sure my CV work is good enough where I feel good to go out on the golf course. And every time I go on the golf course, I feel good because I've stretched, I'm ready, and I feel fresh enough to go and compete.
Which major would you most like to win?
The first one that lands on my lap.
If you had a choice.
If I had a choice, it would be the Open Championship, Augusta National, US Open and the US PGA, but I'm not fussy. Any of them will do. I had no idea, to be honest with you. I know Westwood was at 3 under par. I knew that conditions were going to be difficult. I knew there was going to be pressure involved. I knew guys would probably drop shots. I knew guys might pick up some shots. So I didn't never set out for a number. I just set out to play well. And if I played well and hold putts, I knew I could move up from being 19th and have a chance to win if I'd done my job properly.
When you were moving up the lead,
I was loving it. It was brilliant. You look there and go, right, okay, let's make another birdie and see if I can get, to the lead. That was my mindset. Can I birdie every hole coming in? That was my mindset. I wanted to win. That's why I hit driver off 15. I had momentum. I was in a good position. I didn't want to back down. It was a difficult hole anyway. Let's hit driver. There was a very, very, very slim chance that I could drive it on the green, but there was enough of a chance where if I did drive it on the green and I made birdie or eagle, then, well, hey, I'm in front. So I had to stay aggressive and keep pushing.
Deep.
On what hole? Yes, I did. Yeah, I did, yeah.
Terry took around you and sort of did the approach putt job that you weren't going to get out, and you did, and put it half out three. I think I'm going to bunk of it. Talk to me how you would get it up. Probably
Well, okay, it's hard to do it without a bunker. It's very hard, but the sand in Scottish links bunkers are very soft, so you can use a lot of speed, and it's really nice because there's no base to it. So therefore, what I mean by base is sometimes when you come into a bunker and there's not a lot of sand, the club will bounce. It hits early on the face, not necessarily knife it, but therefore the ball comes out with a lot of speed and quite low. That doesn't happen in links golf. So I knew even though I was under the lip, that it was okay. It was the same thing on 15. I drove it in that bunker on 15 on Sunday. I was fairly close to the face, and I've got to be honest, if the face of the bunker was here, and my ball was probably 2 feet from the front. So I had to get it up over the lip of my bag very quickly and still, fly it a long way, but it was fine. I actually used a 56-degree sand iron for that. Opened it up flat to put more bounce on the club, put it slightly forward in my stance, got this foot as low down into the ground as possible to create more loft and hit it as hard as I possibly could. Occasionally. The week of the Open, when you get that sand one time a year. Couple more questions and we're going to go and have some food and see who's won the day. How do I prepare? Well, my yardage book gives you a good clue. I'm always taking in information on the golf course, where to hit it, where not to hit it, how I can be aggressive on certain holes, where I don't need to be aggressive, certain pin locations. on certain greens mean I can be aggressive, or I can't be aggressive. So I'm basically building up an archive of how to get around the golf course in the least amount of shots as I possibly can. So I'm just sucking in all the information as I play each hole to see where certain pins are going to be, and when they're in those when they're in those locations, I know how I want to play the hole.
Do you write a new yardage book every sorry.
Go on, 1 second.
Do you write a new yardage book every single time you go out?
Every time.
Every time.
Every single time. I've got my yardage book from 2002, which I took up there just as a little comparison, so I could see what had changed on the golf course. On the golf course, had any greens changed, and whether I was putting to pin locations that were used in 2002 just as a guide, in case they wanted to use them again. Some years they use the same pins, even though there's been an 11-year gap. So I putted to all those pins that I putted to in the tournament 11 years ago, just as a reference, as a recheck. Last question. Oh, so, all right, 2 questions. You can have the last one. I work on the mental side every single minute of the day, because my mental side is me and my brain. I don't have a mental coach because they'd need counselling straight after they've seen me. I feel I believe I'm mentally strong enough to be able to cope with most situations out there on the golf course, and there's a number of reasons for that, but I believe I've got all the ability, and it's about me applying myself in the right way to be able to deliver that, and I know in my head that I can deal with any situation on the golf course, and I'm comfortable with that. I don't feel that I need help with that. I could probably help some people with that, but everybody's different. If you're a type of person that isn't confident and needs confidence, then see somebody, use somebody, because it makes a difference, whether it's a psychologist or just a friend. If your friend's a good person to talk to put you in the right mindset, then he's a great person to talk to before you go out on the golf course. Last question.
What's your favourite course?
My most favourite course is probably Augusta National. It's a course that I'd obviously, and a tournament that I'd obviously wanted to play for years and years and years, and obviously, we've all seen it on TV. It's very special. It's the one major every year that we get to go back to the same place, so it feels you feel very comfortable when you go there. You know all the holes, you know what you're going to get. You generally rent the same house, so you get it's a very nice place to go to when you know you're going back there year after year after year. So it makes you want to keep playing better to make sure you are going to get back there. Well, hopefully that's been a little bit of an insight into what I do in a normal week, and I hope you've had a fantastic day.